Hello, everybody, and welcome to Best of Three, a podcast made in esports. I'm Mike, and beside me today, as always, I've got the one and only Crispy Kim. Alex, how you doing?
I am doing great. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Mike? I know you're into crypto.
Oh,
We're gonna talk about some crypto. How is the crypto market doing right now?
right now we're okay. Right now we're okay. There was a little bit of a moment there where we were all kind of worried. We were all kind of
Yep.
thinking that things were going a little downhill, but it's been interesting to watch over the past couple of months, especially. Crypto obviously has been around for the longest of times now. Uh,
Yeah.
there are now people who are getting into their adolescence, where crypto has always been a thing, which is interesting to
Yes.
me. Because back in my day,
It's just what do you mean crypto? You mean money?
yeah, yeah, exactly. We can talk
Yeah.
about crypt. Uh, no, so it's interesting because I'm trying to pace myself a little bit because I could just jump directly into it, but I also want to preface this entire conversation, less than a minute in, by letting the people know that, of course, this is an esports podcast. However, there is just such an interesting thing going on in the crypto world right now that involves esports in such a strange way. And I think just in and of itself, crypto is very much related to esports. And to that end, later on today, we're going to be having a special guest joining us. We are having Jake and Rachel from CoinSmart joining us
Yeah.
on the podcast. So that'll be pretty interesting. But for now, Alex and I, we're just gonna wrap crypto for a little bit. I think that's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Yep. Yep.
like I was saying, it's an interesting way that crypto is moving. For those who have been kind of like loosely aware, right now crypto is going through this massive swell where people are just kind of tossing money at it, believing that it is the next major form of currency that will eventually, although some might say sooner rather than later, replace modern day currency. Um,
Fiat currency,
Fiat
if you
currency.
will.
hmm
Yeah.
And so this happened before. This happens about every 4 years. It happened once at the beginning of it in 2013, and then again in 2017, where you know major swells of money went into cryptocurrency, inflating the price, and then it would go down again for another couple of years. 2017 went back up, went back down for another couple of years. 2021, at the very beginning of the year, January, kind of inklings of it in December, uh, shot right up, brought Bitcoin to about $70,000 per coin. And so the interesting thing that's happening now with Bitcoin and with cryptocurrency in general is that their adoption is happening at a much more rapid pace. A lot more people are ready to create avenues for cryptocurrency to be used. Before it was a lot of integration with banks and how is this going to work with fiat currency, changing that into decentralized finance. But now we have esports organizations, we have NFT organizations, we have racing organizations all adopting cryptocurrency for their means. Uh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
There's so many different ways to apply it.
hmm
And I think what like crypto and esports, I think they have a lot in common in that they're both new, young
hmm
industries, and they're exciting, right? Um, and I think their demographics overlap a lot as well. There's so many different ways that it's sort of being used. So you can either some tournament organizers or platforms are just using it simply as prize money.
Yep.
Um, some game developers are straight up building their games off of the blockchain and then potentially, just giving coins away. And you can even use the blockchain for things like, voting on how a tournament should work
Right.
what players should go in, anything like that. So there's when when we're talking about like crypto and esports coming together, there's just so many different angles to like come at it. So I think yeah, let's go over a couple ways that this can happen, right?
So before that, I do want to mention that there are a lot of parallels that kind of lead up to where we are right now, right?
Yeah.
Like the past couple of years, the idea of crowdfunding has completely exploded. You've had things like GoFundMe, you've had things like Kickstarter become giant, like Goliaths of a corporation. And their whole idea is, put money into our product and we will make a product that you can be proud of. This is the exact same thing that's going on here in Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins and utility coins and all of those kind of things, where they're all saying we have a service here, or we have a product that people will that will change the world, is what they're saying. And
Right.
people are putting their money behind that because they believe in it. So Alex, I want to hear from your mouth.
Yeah.
What is cryptocurrency though? From
What?
you, because I know that you are less into this than I am. So I
Yes,
want to hear
yes.
your
Okay.
interpretation.
So my understanding of cryptocurrency is currency that is powered by the blockchain.
Hmm.
So blockchain technology, right? And essentially, blockchain technology is decentralization of all of the information. So anybody who wants to join, the blockchain, they become a node, and the more nodes there are, the more secure the network becomes because it becomes harder to hack, to alter, to fake, forge, whatever. You have to have over 50% control over 50% of the nodes to be able to change anything.
Right.
So when I think of crypto and the blockchain, I think, the larger it is, the more secure it is. And yeah, decentralization I think really is the key.
Hmm.
So that's my understanding there.
And so let's link this to streaming, and let's link this to esports, and let's link this to gaming. Um, Now we're aware that a couple of years ago, Google tried something. I would say similar, but a little bit different in the form of, what was it called? Stadia, where they
Okay.
had a cloud based gaming platform where people would play and it would connect to their one server or their collection of servers, essentially Google's own blockchain. You would
Okay.
play your games there and it would, you know to varying effects, work out for some, not work out for others. Uh but
No,
now,
I tested it the other day
the
actually. I
other
had a
day,
buddy who had Stadia, yeah, and we were playing off his phone and it worked so well. I was
really,
super impressed. Yeah, we were playing Cyberpunk, and it actually went very well. I was super surprised, not only with the console, but or not, with Stadia itself, but with the game Cyberpunk as well.
right,
So I was like, oh shit,
that is so interesting.
yeah,
Cool. Well, now what we're seeing in gaming and cryptocurrency and blockchain is the idea of decentralized gaming. So, rather than have things go from one server or one group of servers, Google's main server, we have games being run off of the computing power of all of the other people who are proponents of helping this thing become useful.
right,
So people run
community,
nodes, they deliver some of their computing power, and people are able to play games off of it. So that's
incredible.
that's how that works in gaming. How this works in esports, we're actually going to be talking about in a little bit with Jake and Rachel. But we mentioned at one point Mint Gox. I almost said Mount Gox. Do you know the
Close,
difference?
close.
Yes.
Yes, yes, there is definitely a difference.
Mount Gox,
Definitely a
the thing that ran off with everybody's money. Mint Gox, the
I don't know
esports
if
arena.
naming yourself Mint Gox was the right way to go, but
It's
there could be some confusion there, some trust issues maybe, I don't know.
It's a little tongue in cheek to the people who know about it, but
Okay.
that I agree
So
with you.
I came across this esports tournament. It's actually happening very soon,
Mhm.
June 4th to 6th, I believe,
4th to
4th and
5th.
5th.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is a tournament sort of, I guess it's an event where they will have a tournament and they will also have showcases of other, crypto technology and things like that, but they have a prize pool of 1 BTC.
Mm.
So, and they're playing CS:GO. So 1 BTC, what's that worth right now?
Currently, I think we're at about 35,000.
35K. Okay, so not bad. And I was like, okay, so how does this work? Who's involved here? And I looked at who it's powered by, and I saw Zebedee, I believe it's
Zebedee.
pronounced
Yeah, that's right.
Zebedee Infuse. So this was something really interesting. Where it's a platform kind of like Face It, if you guys have used that before, where I guess Zebedee runs their own servers, and different servers have different rules, but you can essentially win satoshis, which is essentially Bitcoin, for playing and competing on their platform.
That's interesting. It's huh. So tell me about this tournament. How many Bitcoin is up for grabs here?
One BTC,
1 BTC.
1 Bitcoin, yeah, and
Isn't
then
that
you.
something? 1 BTC is enough to drive all of those people over there. Isn't
You
that something?
I think with crypto, it's not about how much crypto you get. It's like, "Oh, you can win Bitcoin."
Yeah.
How it doesn't matter how much. It's like, "Oh, Bitcoin is gold." Like, this is I'm gonna be a millionaire with some Bitcoin. It doesn't matter how
Right.
much.
Right. People are saying, "Oh, it's just about being in more than it is about how much." Yeah. It's as
Yeah.
long as it is above 0, then you're good to go. However
And I
many
think
zeros are behind that 0, it doesn't matter. As long as it's above absolute 0, you're good.
and, you can win satoshis on their platform, right? Which is like, what's a satoshi? It's the smallest denomination of Bitcoin that you can possibly get, and I think it's like 0.000001 something
It
Bitcoin.
yes.
Yeah.
It is a very, 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 very small amount of Bitcoin. However, that amount of Bitcoin varies in price, and that's what everybody's thinking about. Is if you own 0.01 Bitcoin, which is currently about 3.5, $350, that $350 could someday be worth actually $300,000. Like, it's that lottery ticket that people are obsessed with. And
Right.
it's a bit of an unhealthy meta of humanity right now where people
Yeah.
are very obsessed with the concept of what things could be and less rooted in what things are. Um However, I am very, very interested to see where we go with this next and how long it's going to take before full, adoption and acceptance actually happens and people start to educate themselves on this kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah. This is really the lowest hanging fruit of crypto, which is payments.
yeah,
Prize money, whatever it is. They're just giving away money to use the platform like a lot of other platforms out there. And I feel like this is a little bit gimmicky. Um,
it feels
they're
like a
trying to set
gimmick.
themselves apart. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate
But
that it's a gimmick. It's not a bad gimmick.
Mhm.
It's definitely a
I,
gimmick.
yeah, definitely. So I think there's some low hanging fruit there. Um, and I think there's deeper ways that blockchain and crypto can be integrated into gaming and esports.
Certainly,
Um,
certainly. And to discuss that, we are going to toss it over to our conversation with Jake and Rachel from CoinSmart, Jake Daniels and Rachel Wallace. So after the break, let's hop right into that. And we'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back to Best of Three. With us right now is Jake Daniels and Rachel Wallace from CoinSmart. Jake and Rachel, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Folks,
Thanks so much for joining us, guys, and taking the time.
yeah, you know what? Can you tell us a little bit about what CoinSmart is?
Absolutely. We're a cryptocurrency exchange, just from built all the way here in Toronto. We offer a lot of different services, but mainly we try to make it as simple as possible for people to get into us.
Mm-hmm.
You can deposit money onto us, buy up to 9 coins, and start investing in like relatively short time. We're also very, very trade compliant or compliance beneficial. I don't know how to say that, Rachel.
We have been doing our best to stay not just like keeping up with regulations, but a step ahead. I don't know exactly how much you guys know about what's going on in the regulatory world in Canada, but OSC announced maybe 2 months ago now that exchanges in Canada need to start regulating with OSC, which is the Ontario Securities Commission, which is something that wasn't required in the past. And, instead of waiting until deadlines come up, we've immediately been on that, started filing applications, working with IROC as well. Different regulatory agencies, we're proactively chasing down what might come in the future so that we're so prepared for that. I think that's...
When you say that 2 months ago this change was implemented, how did that change the crypto space in Canada?
Well, there's been, so far, it's just intentions that have been announced. There haven't been any new regulations put in place, but there's been a lot of speculation over what that will look like. For example, there's a lot of large exchanges that are based in the US that are available to Canadians. A lot of speculation seems to say that they will possibly pull out of Canada when these regulations come into play, rather than go through so many extra hoops to stay available to Canadians when we are a smaller market compared to the US. So that's something that may be happening. We don't know.
I see. Wow. Now, obviously, Best of Three being a Toronto-based podcast as well, we love other Toronto businesses. We love supporting those in our community. However, this is also an esports podcast. So can you let us know how that connection is for CoinSmart? Where does esports play into what CoinSmart does?
Sure. Gamers, I think, have a lot of tools that they interact with inside the game. Economies, community, honestly, is very important. Social media skills is actually quite important on crypto. Not also dealing with toxic people is a great one. You will need to know how to do that in the crypto space. So not just playing games, but I think like gamers themselves really do like have the basic fundamental skills to be a good trader, because you really do look and investigate and research and play with money all the time, resources even, I'll say.
Right. Yeah, I feel like there is a big overlap in sort of the demographic of gamers or people who are into competitive gaming, and people who are into crypto. We see a ton of it in our communities. People are talking about it, and it's just interesting to see how two things that may seemingly be very different are very can be very similar and overlap in a lot of ways.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of speculative news about crypto and just everything around it in the space right now, because we're in such a intense market, such a volatile space right now. But I've seen in some places, and hopefully the two of you can solidify this understanding for me, that most of the holders, or more of the active holders of cryptocurrency, is indeed a younger generation, or not quite as older a generation as those who hold stock. Do you think there's any validity in that?
I definitely think there is, if you don't mind me jumping in. I think that there is a significant overlap, because you need to be at least a base level of tech savvy for most of these things. for crypto, you have to understand a lot about how networks work, how computers basically function, be comfortable on the internet, and know how to not get scammed because it's a new industry. So, oh my goodness, there are scams everywhere. Right. So I think a lot of the same skills, like strategic skills and tech savvy skills that apply to gaming online, also apply to being in the crypto community.
Absolutely. No, I fully agree with that. Yeah, people are creating computers to play their favorite games, as well as creating mining rigs to mine their
yeah. PC building applies to both.
Exactly.
It's a great point that you brought up as well, because esports is also such a young industry.
Yes.
And you're talking about scams and maybe some things that maybe not as legitimate as we want them to yet, the regulations and everything. And we see a ton of that in esports, where it's people who maybe, a group of friends who decided to start an esports team, or, may not have the savvy and experience, and, they may get some steam and some shady things might happen. And it sort of paints a bad picture on the rest of the industry. Yeah. And it really sucks when that happens. And I think I do see that in crypto as well, which is really unfortunate.
To that end, that is why we are seeing more regulations in crypto come through. That's why we're also seeing more regulations in esports coming through. We're speaking a few weeks ago, Alex and I, about different regulations as it comes to as it pertains to the behavior inside a tournament. How certain things are just not okay anymore. There is also behavior within crypto that is just not it completely looked down upon, frowned on. So I want to pivot from that a little bit. Let's continue talking about the overlap with crypto and gaming. And now I know that CoinSmart is working with certain organizations in the gaming space. Do you want to speak a little bit about those?
Well, I think because of the reasons that we already stated, that there is an overlap, it makes sense. We want to find people where they're at, and if people that we are interested in are people who are likely gaming, we want to be where they're at. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, and it's also a content creator economy. Very much more and more to that. So I think crypto and getting people involved into a service or promoting it very much so fits that new world creators. Sign up, try our service. It just happens to be cryptocurrency, which also is very meta and well regarded inside gaming. So it's not a hard sell, and it just fits what everyone's promoting nowadays.
Right.
Which I love that it's a content creator community. I don't watch anything from produced anymore. I watch all content creator stuff. YouTube.
Nice.
I can't stand the scripted stuff.
It does seem a lot more authentic. Being authentic is very important in the gaming community, right? So, but I think that's sort of starting to spread, and you see this want for authentic content.
Well, it's interesting, right? It came from a place of imitation and adoration, right? Like people would see TV shows and they're like, oh, I want to make that. And so they went on YouTube and made their own TV show, but they did that without all of the processes that led up to creating an actual TV show. So, no producer, no director, no editor, nothing like that. It was just one person being like, I like that end product. I'm going to make that end product and make it the front end of my end product. And then from there, it's funny how it's kind of evolved into a space where either people are outsourcing those people themselves and making their own TV shows within the internet, or they're becoming just so good at it that they're able to actually wear all of those hats where nobody else could before. Yeah, we have a very savvy group of content creators right now on the internet, just able to create amazing shows out of nothing, out of barely anything, out of just what they have going on in their head. And again, to link it to crypto, very, very similar things where originally the first few coins that were created were big, where the bitcoins of the world, where there's so much that goes into it. There's the concept of blockchain, which continues to go over my head, and that has evolved into now we're seeing content creators creating their own even currency, and that is just such an interesting budding space for me. What do you guys think about the individuals who are making their own coins these days?
Well, there's definitely a lot of them out there. I'm sure that some are just, enthusiastic about the whole thing, and this is their way of joining into everything. I think some are, trying to hop on the train, so to speak, get some momentum from what's already there. Since it's a buzzword, that's always going to happen whenever anything is trendy or growing wildly, like crypto currently is in the last few months even. And maybe a few of them will stick around. It kind of, we'll have to wait and see. With the prevalence of it happening all over the place, it's really hard to point out which ones will probably stick around and which ones were just a crazy idea at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of, sorry, I'll get your opinion on this too, Jake, but there's a lot of in esports, that's just kind of how it goes, right? Is like what people figure out a trend and everybody goes on it, and it's dangerous to really get behind one of them, because you don't know what's actually going to stick and what's what is and is not created with the best of intentions. But Jake, what are your thoughts?
Well, of course, I have to bring up NFTs, which is not just a coin, but selling pieces of your own highlights. Which I always have I'm more optimistic about it, but at the same breath, I haven't seen it really blow up. Now, what excites me about this industry is new jobs are emerging, both in content creation, NFTs, blockchain. They're creating a new world around us, and so a job that you may be in 10 years, or anyone that's younger, it may not exist right now. Your career may be something that doesn't exist yet, which is very interesting to me. And I love seeing the YouTuber rise, the VTuber rise.
Oh, yes.
Also, very interesting. NFTs might just be actually massive next year. It just might need to catch wind or something.
Just needs to get to the right one or two hyper influential people that will just set the whole thing off.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about specific sort of creators, but I want to ask about platforms too, because I've seen a bunch of new and emerging platforms that essentially want to pay people in crypto to watch streams or, watch streamers and things like that. I've seen a lot of sort of different takes on this, and they're trying to sort of create incentive for the creators of that platform by giving coins and providing value to those coins. What are your thoughts on a system sort of like this?
I have to give this to Rachel because
I really like Theta personally, so I think that it is a fascinating idea, and I love the idea of a decentralized streaming network. The whole idea of it is that individual people are out there spreading their content for other people, and that it's so much like DeFi in general, with just, I get so excited I don't know how to talk about it. But I think that it just makes more sense than traditional streaming platforms where everything is centralized, because it's about the small people. So why not have those small people interconnected with each other be the platform? It just, why not? It makes so much sense. I'm really excited to see where platforms like that are going to go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, it is about time for a little bit of disruption or integration for things like YouTube, things like Twitch that already are so ingrained with esports and streaming and all of that. And I know that yes, Theta is one of those very interesting ones. I know there's also Veracity, which is big on esports as well, on video streaming. But before we move on, any final thoughts about that?
Well, I just want to point out, when you say YouTube and Twitch, you're saying Google and Amazon, right? Like
Right.
these are these massive companies, and it's great to just have platforms that aren't like that. I'm a huge Spotify user, and I'll always use Spotify because they're not the big names. It wasn't Apple Music, so I always do lean towards those SoundCloud as well. Like I really lean to that, gravitate to those. I wouldn't call them open source platforms, but the unassociated, decentralized. I love it.
Yeah, the decentralized is the key here, I guess. And you're absolutely right. I think that is the reason why a lot of creators want to be on these types of platforms, because they feel sort of that the larger platforms don't care about them, or that they're just a cog in this really, really large corporate machine where they're making ad dollars for the company and really not seeing a lot of that in their own pocket, right? So yeah.
No, they're not facilitating change anymore, and that's what brought people onto Google in the first place. That's what brought people onto Amazon in the first place, eBay, all your other major platforms, because there wasn't anything that offered such an experience. And at a time, it was very about the person who was using it. And then as it grew larger, they stopped being able to do that anymore. And so people were like, okay, well, no, now that there are people who have situated themselves on the juggernauts of the internet, we need to find a place where we can live. And so that's where all of the decentralization is coming in. That's very interesting to me. Now let's end our talk on the blockchain. So, God, there's I will preface this not so that I can learn more about it, partially selfishly so that I can learn more about it, but more so that our listeners can learn about this in a good 1 to 2 minutes. Explain
what is blockchain?
Your version of the blockchain is. I'm sorry, I'm beating this to death. Go ahead.
Ooh.
You want to try first, Dick, or shall I
go? You better lead, because I can probably work off of you.
Okay, I will do my best. Blockchain is like a library, in my understanding of it. The idea is that every time something happens in Bitcoin, it is written on a line, and each line goes onto a page, and each page goes into a book, and then you have book after book after book after book of it. And the blockchain is that collection of all the transactions. And the reason that it is special and different is the fact that it is duplicatable. Like everyone who runs a node on this network has a copy of this entire library. And the decentralization comes in the fact that there's thousands of them. And if somebody goes in, erases one of those lines, writes something else in to try to change what's going on, they would have to somehow convince, strong arm, bribe thousands of people around the world to agree with their change, which is practically impossible. So the idea of blockchain is this, because everybody has their own thing and it's all the same thing, and nobody has a good reason to mess with that, it becomes almost impossible to take down. It takes on a life of its own, and it becomes autonomous and verifiable within itself.
Now, in regards to the other coins that CoinSmart offers, yes, first of all, very, very nice.
Incredible. That was a great
one
great
of the first times that I've actually been able to like grasp what that is. I love the library analogy. With regards to other coins that you have on the site, say Cardano or Stellar or Ethereum, Litecoin, what have you, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, is that fair to say that the other ones also go up because they live on the Bitcoin blockchain?
Sorry, I don't want to take over all the questions. You want to say this one, Jake?
Go for it, Jake.
Like they don't all use the same blockchain.
I
so
see.
First off, that's false. But Bitcoin is kind of like the cheerleader of everybody right now. It may not be the most efficient. We can look at the energy consumption that it's been using. A lot of people are talking about that. It can be improved in many, many ways. It's called a first generation coin. We're now on about a third generation coin. Cardano would be a third generation.
Oh, wow.
Ethereum would be a second. So they're all trying to improve on each other. And well, yeah, I'll throw that out the window, and I think I can start there.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, their use cases are what's fascinating. Some of them are just for finance, but you can use that blockchain, that library that Rachel is talking about, for voting registration, for who you like. Have that out there in the world. There can be no more manipulation. Which, do you know who doesn't want that to happen? Quite a few people. Yeah, those people. So I just want to say, like, that is such a great use case, and a lot of coins do. They champion that. Monero being one. We do not offer Monero, but it's like complete anonymity.
Right.
Is that good? There's like now a break point of like, how anonymous should everything be?
Right.
Do you want to be able to track who's a bad actor in the scene?
Right. There is a point where anonymity is a bit of a gray area.
Yep. And you have to trust. We've currently built society to trust the government to take care of this for us, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you may not agree with the government, and you have to. The people might think something different, and they all will consensus behind it, vote it through, and say, yeah, we want to run it this way now. And that's the people doing it with no need for a government intervention. It's totally possible.
I'd love to jump in on that quickly and say that I think a reason a lot of people are so interested in decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's called, is the fact that every currency out there that's not cryptocurrency is backed by a government. Every dollar, every euro, like everything else is backed by a political organization. And we know from history that those do fail. And so the fact that you can have a currency that is not tied to a political organization is so appealing to so many people, because if the government fails, it doesn't matter. Our money is not connected to the government anymore. We're okay. We're safe. We have that sense of all the craziness that's going on in politics. I don't have to stress about it as much because I've got some other options.
Right. I love the points that you're bringing up about decentralization. And I think that really, really resonates with gamers, because as we know, gamers, people in esports, they are very, very vocal. They are extremely vocal. They are a community, and they like to be heard. So with the blockchain and with decentralization, it gives people the opportunity to now vote on, say, how a game is developed, or the rules of an esports tournament, or, so many different things. It gives voice to the people that, they really want this voice and this say in sort of what's happening here, which I think is another reason why sort of gamers will resonate with and gravitate towards crypto and the blockchain. Yeah.
Sure.
I was just going to say that I've heard, through the grapevine, that governance tokens are going to be a huge thing in the future of digital currencies because of that. That's what I've heard. I can't make any solid predictions, but.
Sorry, what is a governance token?
I had to Google it, but it is like a share in that it gives you voting rights with the organization that the network is. So that's what a governance token is.
More or less where you would have to, I guess, register yourself on the blockchain.
I actually, it's really interesting you bring, because that just reminded me of some crazy idea that I read about, and somebody had the bright idea that they were going to start an esports team and let the community decide on their decisions.
Huh.
So it's like, who should we get? What game should we get into? Like, should we get a competitive team in this? Like,
so it's like the Twitch plays Pokemon of the esports.
I was going to say that.
And like, I don't imagine they'll do very well, but it's such a unique and interesting concept that I think could just drum up a lot of interest in and bring people together.
If Twitch plays Pokemon showed anything, it's that eventually you'll get there.
Eventually.
Really weird.
Yes. It would be sure fun to watch along the way.
Absolutely. Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Before we got away from explaining some of the basics of it, I did want to quickly kind of shill the fact that we have been working really hard on making a lot of educational articles. And I just personally have learned so much from the writer who's been writing them for us. He has got the best talent for taking really complicated technical things and putting them in words where I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. So we've been turning those out. They're amazing. They explain so much. And they even have quizzes where you get to earn sats if you answer a quiz correctly at the end of it. So
nice. And where can people find that?
on our website in our GetSmart hub. It's coinsmart.com/GetSmart.
Sweet.
CoinSmart.com. Yeah.
CoinSmart.com/GetSmart.
Ever heard of it?
Sounds good.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Alex, we're running out of time here. How about you give us one last topic here?
One last topic. Oh man, there's so many things to go over, but really, I just want to know, how do you see sort of this blockchain and esports sort of evolving together in the next sort of few years? Because I really do see more and more that are in both categories, and I want to know, like, what you think. Where is it going? What's the future hold?
I think, like, I'll say pools. I don't know if you guys know about staking pools, but you can run a pool and have people put money in it, add to liquidity. It's a whole thing. If you have people right now shilling coins, eventually they might become a pool operator, and they'd influence their communities to, invest with them or stake with them, I guess would be more the appropriate option. I haven't seen anyone been doing that yet, but I have a feeling that might be an evolution, and that would really bring a lot of education behind, like, the
Sorry, by pools, do you mean something like fantasy or something like that, like have a pool running, or
a little different? It's a financial pool where you put your coins inside and everyone would have these coins, and it adds liquidity to an exchange can be an option. Like, instead of putting your money in the bank where you make 1%, you can put it in here and you get 5% year over year. So the returns are fantastic. However, no one that's a big influencer is really diving into that yet, which, it can get complicated, but I think one person can really break it open.
Right.
If I were to guess where that's going to be, because we've already talked about NFTs, we've already talked about people being into crypto. Where it goes next, I think, is that deeper delve, and hopefully, I'd like to see it there, because I think there's a lot of trust. It's the blockchain; no one can really screw anybody over. That's where I see the next big thing.
Interesting.
Ooh. Okay.
The advent of staking, I know, is now slowly heading into the mainstream, and the people who, to that point, the people who are adopting that now are seeing incredible returns. That will not be as lucrative, I presume, later when more people are in it, but still much better than the alternative, which is holding in centralized finance. Interesting.
Yeah. Rachel, did you have any thoughts on sort of where is crypto, the blockchain, going, and how is it sort of going to evolve with gaming and esports?
I was just going to comment that I think that the staking becoming a bigger thing really isn't as far around the corner as we think. Maybe it's like already opening the door. I mean, Ethereum is transferring over from proof of work to proof of stake in, what is it, a matter of very short time. That's already in the works, and that's the second biggest cryptocurrency in the world. So it's not just coming, it pretty much is here.
Right. Absolutely. So look out for that, everybody. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time here. Alex, do you want to say any final words?
Yeah, I just want to thank Jake and Rachel for joining us today. We've worked with them a little bit. They do sponsor Parabellum. We had the CoinSmart Cup iRacing event just this past weekend. And yeah, their ongoing support for the Parabellum team and the rest of Mooka. I just want to thank you guys again, and for joining us too. So
absolutely. Yeah. And so, as everybody knows, you can go to coinsmart.com to go and check out their website and check out their exchange. Jake, Rachel, do you have any other plugs here? Any other shout outs? Now,
shill us. Let's hear the shills.
Follow us on socials, because we do so much good work there. I'm a chart guy. You'll see all the charts that I make for us here at CoinSmart CA. It'll be a little C at the end, and pretty much every Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, CoinSmart CA. We do a lot of good work there.
Fantastic.
Rachel?
That's what I've got as well. Every time we've got more educational articles, whether they're on upcoming events that we're explaining, whether they're on explaining some basics, I'm big on learning. So I always promote everything there, and giveaways happen there as well. I couldn't see a reason not to follow us just because of giveaways and free information.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And that's
been a pleasure.
All from us. Yeah.
Thank you.
What a talk that was, Alex. That was such a fun discussion with Jake and Rachel.
I wish we had a little bit more time, actually.
Same, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I wish we'd taken a little bit more time with it. I feel like we had so much more to talk with them about, like, even after we kept the conversation going and asked just so much about their platform and crypto in general and their thoughts on things. Like, there's such a wealth of knowledge that I was just so impressed.
We'll definitely invite them back at a future episode. We can talk more, and I'm excited to see where this all goes, right?
Yes. Same here. Same here. All right. Well, until then, that's going to be the end of Best of 3. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. A little different than what we normally do, but again, I feel like there's so much overlap between crypto and esports that so many people who are already in esports are already in crypto. So, if this did happen to live in your Venn diagram there, please do let us know in the comments of this video. And drop us a line on what you think of crypto in general. I feel like people are still asking, like, is it a bubble? Is that the meme? Is it a bubble? It's not a bubble. This is the thing. It's just happening. Like,
it's a thing. It's going to be a thing. It's a matter of when, not if.
Yes, we are slowly but absolutely surely getting there. Until then, Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me here on our YouTube channel, or you can find me on Twitter at Crispy Kim.
Nice.
That's Crispy with a K. Yeah.
And then you can find me at Still Just Mike, either on Twitter or Twitch.tv. Both places I will be. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Have a good one. Cool.
We did it. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording, and I actually...